Hello everyone, Colin Canet here for Woodwork Web. Today we're going to make this really simple but very accurate tenoning jig for the table saw. So if you're a little bit new to woodworking, we use mortise, what's called mortise and tenon joints, and the mortise is a hole. In this case it's a square hole, but we drill it out with a round bit. We just square it off with a chisel, and we have to have a square tenon to go into it. So today we're going to make a jig that will cut tenons so that we can make mortise and tenon joints, and nice tight fits like that. Now, as luck would have it, when I was going through my bits and pieces of wood, I found 4 pieces of wood that are going to work perfectly for us. I'm going to cut our upright also at 16 inches. The support piece that's going to be holding our wood that we're going to be cutting on the jig needs to be nice and thick, and you'll see why in a little while. So I'm going to take this over to the jointer because I need to make sure that I have a nice flat, but I need to make sure that one place is absolutely 90 degrees. So we'll do that at the jointer. And that will sit like that. And the reason I want this to go like this is this wood is going to expand and contract a little bit, and I need to put hanger bolts in here. Remember the bolts with the machine thread on one side and the wood thread on another. So we'll put those in there like that, and that will allow us, when this wood does expand and contract, we'll be able to adjust that so we get a nice tight fit on the fence. Good, we'll have room for washers there. Okay, now let's attach the upright. Okay, what I've done, I've just attached the upright to the face here, and I put a screw in that goes through this material and actually into the wood. So I pre-drilled this. Now, so that I make sure that I get this absolutely vertical, I want to take this over to the table saw because we're going to drill a screw in from the back, and that will fasten that down at 90 degrees. So let's go over to the table saw. So I wanted this to be able to move smoothly back and forth across the miter slots without getting caught up in that. And you can see, if you look closely, it's a little bit off the deck, and that's exactly where I want this. So now what we need to do is use a square, and I'm using the biggest square I have, and I've checked this square. It is definitely square, and we need to line that wood up with that so that everything's absolutely perfect. I'm going to clamp it there as well so that it doesn't move when I put that final screw in the back here. All right, now there's just one last thing we need to do, and that is we want to be able to have a way of clamping this without getting expensive toggle clamps or something. And the best way to do that is to just simply drill a hole here that we can put one of our clamps through. So let's put just any old clamp in there. Fits in like that. Through like that, and you can actually clamp it on this side too, and that's why this piece needs to be thick. And in my case, I've got this about 1.5 inches, 1 3/4, so you can clamp it this way as well, so you can get a double clamp on that. So let's go ahead and let me show you how to set this up, and let's cut a tenon. So the first thing I want to do is set my blade height to 1 inch, and you can see that I've done that. The next thing I want to do is, because I'm going to be using 3/4 inch material, so let's put that in the jig just like that. and we'll tighten that down. This is 3/4 inch material, so what I want is a 1/4 inch slot, or a 1/4 inch tenon. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use my measuring bar, and I want to be on the outside of the teeth. So I'm just going to tweak my blade or my fence until I can see that the measuring bar is just on the outside of those teeth, and I can do that by looking straight down, and I can see that. So that's all ready to go. So I'm going to run that through, then I'm going to take it out and turn it around and do the same on the other side. Now the next thing we need to do is to cut the shoulders. So we need to cut the ends rather, and again I'm just going to clamp that on there, and we've got a nice wide piece of wood here, so we can clamp that on nice and securely, and we'll do the same thing. We'll just flip it around after each cut. Yeah, I made a couple cuts there. I don't know what happened to that first cut. I guess I didn't have it lined up there. We'll have to look at that. Anyway, I could see that it was off, so I just did another quick cut on that. But you know what? Now we're going to cut the shoulders, and you know what? I've already set that at 1 inch before, and because we cut a 1 inch this way, that way deep, we can use the same measurement to set our blade. And we just set that against the fence and adjust it so that it's right where the blade is, and now we can just use, in fact we can even use the same measuring bar to get our 1/4 inch if you want, or you can just use the measurement of the piece itself, and we'll get a miter gauge in here and we'll cut those shoulders. Now you can see I cut mortise ahead of time, and I've cut this. There's almost always a little bit of adjustment that needs to happen with these, and this one's not going to be any different. It almost fits in there. It's a little bit tight this way, so I'm going to adjust this slot just a little bit because it's still a little bit rounded here from where my drill went. There, I just adjusted that a little bit. And you know what, I'm not going to work real hard at making this fit. You know what, it's almost there. It goes in, and if I work that, I can move that down. It's a little bit tighter than I'd like to see, but that's essentially what we're looking for, is a mortise and tenon joint and a nice tight fit. Now you could sand this down a little bit. I prefer to just nibble away at the inside of that slot and make that just a little bit wider in there and get a nice tight fit. But that's all it takes to make a good, quick, easy tenon. Well, when I double-checked my tenon and my mortise, it turns out that my tenon is a little bit too long. It was bottoming out on in the mortise, so I just need to make it a little bit, make the mortise a little bit deeper, or cut the end off the tenon a little bit. But that concludes my video on making the quick tenoning jig, and if you use mortise and tenons in your construction, this might be a great little jig you'll want to add to your repertoire of tools in your shop. I'm Colin Canet for Woodwork Web. Thanks for watching.